Hello and welcome back to Not Without My Sister, a podcast presented by me, Rosemary McCabe, and my sister, Beatrice McCabe. Beatrice, how are you?
Well, I thought I was doing the intro, but I'm fine, thanks. Feels like podcast presented by you, but I mean, you are the one with 40.8 thousand followers, so I suppose that's fair enough. I am piggybacking on your fame.
I'd say by the time this episode comes out, it'll have gone back to 40.7. It loves to just tease me, get it to 40.8 and then go straight back down again. So annoying. And I can almost tell as well, like sometimes I'll put up a post where I'm just like, oh my God, like I've just walked the dog and I'm blah, 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 and my skin is looking much better. And then I'll lose a heap of followers and I'm in a rage. I'm like, those fuckers
People
don't
only
appreciate me.
This is actually an excellent segue. People only like female protagonists who are suffering, who have drama in their lives. You need to keep the drama going, the positive or the negative. I got engaged. Spike. I broke my ankle. Spike.
Oh, I don't think there was a spike necessarily for the ankle sprain, but there was a spike in my DMs, which was exhausting. They're definitely... Beatrice, can you imagine the spike if I had a baby?
How was that exhausting? You literally had a broken ankle and nowhere to go. Why was that exhausting?
Oh, because I just had to keep writing back to the same questions. People go, oh my God, what happened? You're like, well...
Oh, God, that's why you can't increase your numbers, because you don't care about your listeners.
I write back to every single person, you bitch.
Can I imagine if you had a baby? Yes, I can. I wish you would have a baby. I feel like you'd be up to 50,000 in no time. I know, don't cry.
Oh,
don't cry.
I'd love a little
You'd have a baby and an additional 10,000 followers. Win-win.
You know, you don't know, but my period is due, and like literally every time I'm due my period and I get sore boobs, I'm like, a baby. It's a baby, and it's my period. Every time.
Do you know where babies sit? They don't sit up there in your chest.
Yeah, but like I imagine my milk coming in already and my boobs getting very sore from like week 2 of gestation.
Milk coming.
You know what I mean? That's what I've never been pregnant to know what it's like.
I want to just put a disclaimer out here. Claire McCabe did not teach us about biology.
She prepped us for biology. She prepped us for nothing. Nothing.
Oh my God, my milk is coming in. Brandon,
she left
it says
us,
here I'm 5 weeks pregnant.
She let us out into the world totally blind.
That was terrible. Did you mean to say that, or was that a boob?
Oh my God, that was terrible. That was not your breast work.
Oh, I was about to say that. Listen, let's nipple this in the bud and move on. God, just when I'm like, sometimes I'm like, oh, look at our age demographic. Our listeners are like, 35 to whatever, 30 to 40 kind of. I'm like, I'm 42. Everybody's younger than me. And then I hear these kind of exchanges and I'm like, we're actually ancient. So yeah, these I'm absolutely terrible.
I'm genuinely
jokes.
Surprised our demographic isn't like 60 plus. Isn't basically mom and her mates going, I love a pun.
Oh, we do get mom and her mates saying, good job, that pun was hilarious. Loved it. Has she got a pun in the oven?
Next thing we'll be punning in Latin and then mom will be really proud.
Oh my God, Veni Vidi Vici. She'd love it.
She'd be so happy.
I was trying to explain Latin to the boys the other day, and although I have heard my mother make Latin noises, that sounds terrible, over her life, I have never actually learned anything from her. However,
yes,
I am currently... Have I?
Yes. Good night,
what?
so...
Good night, pal. I thought that was French.
No, that's Latin. So is bucket and pel is spade.
I thought that was French because it's le so and le... Are you sure? No, I think it's French.
Oh my God. I'm pretty sure that's Latin.
Oh.
Answer in the show notes.
Well, I was going to say... Answer in the show notes.
If anybody out there is Latin, please let us know.
So we watched The Wilds. Did you watch the whole thing?
Oh my God, of course I watched the whole thing.
It's also available, I think. Isn't it available in Ireland? I'm pretty much sure it is.
It's available in Ireland. It's on Amazon Prime because I've recommended it to a few friends who've watched it now.
It's really, really good, right? And it's about a gang of teenage girls or young adults, females. Yes. Who become stranded on an island. So basically lost mixed with, what's that one where they're all on an island? Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies. Yeah, Lord of the Flies, except they're all female. And it was genuinely amazing, I realised after 1 or 2 episodes, to be watching girls do all the things that in a TV show boys normally do. Like just be themselves, be these imperfect things without a kind of, oh, she's going to get her comeuppance, there's going to be a lesson here, or who does she fancy, what's the love angle here, just like be the protagonists. So this episode is going to be about strong female protagonists in TV shows.
Oh my God, I actually have a t-shirt that says strong female protagonists that I bought from another one of my favourite podcasts, the Bechdel Cast, from their merch.
Oh, and why don't you explain what that is, Rosemary?
Oh, sorry. The Bechdel Cast is a podcast where they review films through the lens of the Bechdel test, which is a test where two named female or minority gender identifying characters have to have a conversation with one another that is not about a man. So basically, our entire podcast so far has passed the Bechdel test because we haven't been talking about men really, except for when you were talking about Don.
Oh yeah, but named as in they have to be characters with names, not just like girl at the lamppost. Yes, so characters with names who have a conversation, that doesn't revolve around a man. And you would be...
Two lines.
And you'd be shocked. It's not, 2 lines, for God's sake. You'd be shocked at how many movies and TV shows do not pass this test.
Yeah.
Right?
Either you would be shocked or you wouldn't. You know what I mean?
Well, I was shocked. Even though I was expecting a very high number, I was still shocked. I was like, that is disgraceful. Right, but anyway, The Wild definitely passes the Bechdel test. Repeatedly. Every episode.
I'd say every single episode within about the first 3 minutes it passes the Bechdel test. It's so good.
Absolutely so good to see people that you're not thinking, oh, well, they're going to, in the end, they'll be likable. They just are themselves. They're actually people. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't like, there were moments where I'm going, this is kind of stretching the bounds of my credibility, the TV show itself, but it's still extremely enjoyable and just fascinating to see women non-stop on the screen.
Yeah, and to your point about them being really rounded characters, I think in the very first episode, it felt a little bit like, okay, there are archetypes. There's the cheerleader, like the kind of pageant queen, and then there's the like social media one, and then there's this. But you're right in that, even within that very first episode, none of them conformed to the archetype that they were meant to. Do you know what I mean? And like they did have, like, they had their flaws. They were funny, then they were not funny, then they were brave, then they were absolutely crap. And like, some of them, even the ones who in the first couple of episodes you're like, okay, she's going to be the leader, then didn't end up being it was just it was really interesting and really nuanced and really, really well written, and like,
it made me
so entertaining.
Well, it made me realize when you said that just there, that we do all conform to these roles, and especially depending on the group that you are put into, we take on different roles. And actually, right now in work, a friend of mine is in consulting, and one of the first things she wanted to do, so she's working on process, right? Just the process of how the team works and what the ideal process is, kind of agnostic of the individuals, like what is a, industry standard way to do this? How should product development run, kind of thing. And one of the first things she did was she said, let's do this. She sent out a personality test, that are you INTJ or ENTF or whatever. And it's so interesting because when she puts it together, and she's like, oh, these 4 people are the same. We've done it before. Yeah. But you go, oh my God, they are, like, they have these commonalities. Like, there are these kind of groups that people fall into. And even though the individuals, like, you wouldn't be able to necessarily say, oh, they're the same. But when they call out these sort of main identifiers of, like, very organized, passionate about process, whatever, right?
Yeah, the strands.
Whatever they are, I'm making them up. It's so interesting. It's a really quick test. And it's so funny as well because I was what was I? Protagonist? Was I the protagonist? There was the protagonist and the something else. Anyway, and I come home and I was like, I can't believe I'm this, right? I can't remember. But what? Hold on. Starts with a C. I'll remember later. Anyway, and I was like, oh, it's, it talks about being creative, wanting to hurry, like get things done, move at speed, work on mainly intuition, like informed intuition. Right, and I come home and I go to Don. So he reads a couple. I said, you do the test. And I go, do a couple of these. He reads through, he goes, I'm definitely the mediator. I don't need to do this test. I was like, you are not the mediator. Like the least mediating person I've ever met in my life, Don Kirkland. Absolutely not, right? So I go, sit down there and do that again, right? And he's like, so he does it again. And I'm like, oh, you're absolutely not. I said, you're because it's one of these things where you pick a scale. Like I go to a party and there are loads of people and I'm really uncomfortable. Very seldom, all the way up to very, whatever. And I go, absolutely not. So I go, I'm going to do this through the lens of you, Don. I am going to do this on your behalf. So I sit down and I'm like, I go to a party and I like to be the center of attention. absolutely not, right? And I'm like putting the dot all the way down the end. But I bet you put that dot all the way at the top, right? Anyway, I do the whole thing and he's just sitting there patiently listening to me. And at the end I go, now let's see what you are. Mediator.
I really want to do this. Do you have a link?
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. It's
great.
very interesting. And it's really interesting because it goes into how you behave in different aspects of your life as well, not just work, but like what is your love personality? What is your friend personality? You know, it's very helpful, I think, sometimes to understand when you're dealing with somebody, how do you come at it from what their approach is? Like, how do you understand why they're doing something versus just like rolling your eyes and getting annoyed, you know?
Yeah. Huh, interesting. What kind of personality type do you think my favourite female TV protagonist, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, would be? Buffy Summers, who actually turned 40. The character turned 40 last week.
So maybe she's listening to us. I'd say a protagonist. I have to say, I'd say a slayer. What was it? A banshee slayer.
Would you?
Isn't that what Spike called you? Rosemary.
James
Rosemary,
Marsden.
you banshee slayer.
I always get him confused with James Marsden.
Yeah. No, not James Marsden.
Listen, potato. But yeah, like Buffy was one of those shows. And I mean, listen, I reference this all the time. I bring in as many Buffy quotes as I possibly can into my life, into our podcast, into my writing on Patreon. I do, like, because it's the TV show that I've seen. I've seen it at least 10 times. All 7 seasons I've watched in a row 10 times at least, I'd say. Which is actually embarrassing now that I think about it.
But I'm always shocked by how you remember it. But now that you've told me that, that's entirely different. And wasn't your first date with Brandy after you went to Buffalo Wild Wings? Wasn't that a Buffy episode? So it was B&B. I wish people could see your face.
Why? This is like one of those jokes. I'm using inverted commas. It's not fucking funny. You keep bringing this up. We did not watch Buffy until at least date number 3. Date number 1, we went to Buffalo Wild Wings during the day. Date number 2, we went to Junk Ditch and then we went and walked around downtown. We had perfectly normal, nice, lovely dates 1 and 2. And it was only in date number 3 that I really settled into girlfriend mode and began to watch Buffy. So, bog off.
Why is this a bad thing?
It just makes me
Buffy's
sound
a cool
so
girl.
boring.
When did you show him your steak? Did you rip it out of your backpack on date number 2 or number 3?
You are so fucking annoying.
How does that make you sound boring? Are you joking? I mean, I've been in your house and I've seen every single, what is it, Dungeons and Dragons
World of
graphic
Warcraft
poster. Yeah, on the wall, so you're grand.
Once again, those are not Dungeons and Dragons. What? I can't even say it now. Those are not posters. Those are
What are they?
Beautiful, original art, pieces of art by an artist that he likes. They've nothing. They just happen to be like weird sci-fi fantasy characters.
I did say I like them. I just don't like the frames that they're in. You're the one who said you hated them.
Hate the
Sorry,
frames.
Brandon.
Well, I mean, I like them, but I don't want 24 in the one room. Anyway, back to the point. Buffy was probably, I probably had seen Xena before that, right? If I'm thinking about like shows with strong female characters.
Loved that. Well, that was a bit though, like, and you know, the thing about Xena as well, like she had to be wearing she was wearing the like Spartan costume over a bikini basically. At least Buffy was fully wearing her jeans and like there was no getting sexy. You know, I mean, she was cute.
Buffy got sexy a lot, and there were several times where she was wearing teeny tiny skirts and knee-high boots, and I was like, you're not going to be doing any slaying in those.
But that was because she wanted to, not because minute she ran into a telephone box and like did a twirl, she came out in a mini, you know, a la Wonder, because I loved Wonder Woman, but it was the same thing. She was like in amazing pantsuits. Next thing you know, she's in a telephone box and she's come out wearing like a pair of undies.
Did she go into a telephone box?
No, I'm mixing my metaphors here. I think that was Superman.
Yeah, that was Clark Kent, wasn't it?
She bounded vertically over a grassy knoll, over a large hill and came down in her undies.
What's your first strong female protagonist show that you really got into? It was probably My So-Called Life, no? You look like you've turned into a weird robot.
Oh, I really liked X-Files, but that was a half and half. That was a half and half. But she was a 50-50. Strong female protagonist. Yeah, and it wasn't romantic. Until season 10, and then it just got nonsense. There was a tension, but neither one of them ever spoke to it or alluded to it.
There was always a will they, won't they?
Because we wanted there to be a tension, not because either of them ever referenced it or pretended like it was there. Except maybe every now and then when they were in motels, and there was a like.
Did they kiss? like,
What are
did
you
they
doing?
kiss at all in the show, or was that only in the movie? That they
No, they
almost
kissed in the movie, and then they were like together in one of the end seasons. I don't even know. That's when it all went off the rails. I was actually thinking the other day I need to rewatch X-Files because it was excellent.
You know, I've actually never watched X-Files. Like, I've watched the odd episode. I've been in the room when the odd episode was on with you, I think. So, like, I remember one where they were pulling some kind of alien worm out of someone's ear.
Oh, brilliant. Those episodes are great. Great. We'll watch that. We'll watch that together. There's something to do. There's something to look forward to. We can try and figure out this Netflix watch thing. Netflix, whatever it's called.
Oh, yeah. The, like, watch party thing. But we tried to do that with that Nicole Kidman show, and it was just very annoying, wasn't it?
Oh, no. That was where we were just signed up to the HBO thing, and it was crap.
Oh, yeah.
She was not a strong protagonist.
No, but I'm actually thinking of signing up to HBO Max now so that I can watch that, even though I've totally forgotten what it was called. And the other thing...
The Undoing.
Oh, yes. The Undoing. Oh, my God, I have a cup that says The Undoing. And so I can watch that, and so that I can also watch the new film with Jared Leto called The Little Things, that I'm getting heavily advertised to me through everything, and it's working, because now I really want to see it.
Oh, well... Okay, so yes, My So-Called Life. Well, anyway, I loved Scully, right? She was amazing. Super smart, no nonsense, cutting up cadavers left, right and centre.
Sorry, just to be clear,
not
you
squeamish.
don't think Scully was in My So-Called Life, because you literally just went, yeah, My So-Called Life, I loved Scully.
No,
Scully
well, I was about to say,
X-Files.
My So-Called Life, I'm about to get to that.
Okay.
Scully in the X-Files was saying before My So-Called Life, because My So-Called Life was angst, you know what I mean? It hit you right in the solar
right,
plexus
the feels,
of just
as the millennials would say.
Angst.
In the feels.
That's right. In the feels. Right. It was everything that you're going through. I mean, it was the shirt you're wearing right now, the flannel shirt. Right, except yours is Jonathan Anderson. Yes, yours is Jonathan Anderson by Uniqlo. Very nice, very cozy. And it was just like silent yearning. How could so much silent yearning be in only one season? Like, I was shocked to learn recently that there was only one season. I honestly thought I watched that for about 5 years. Jordan Catalano.
And do you remember her poor neighbour Brian, who she ended up being quite mean to?
Brian
but he was
always on a
like,
bike, like circling psychotically on her driveway.
Yeah, but he was also like the guy, you know, who's like, I'm such a nice guy and girls never give me a chance. That's kind of the guy he was. Even though he was nicer than that.
I don't know if he felt like that. He was, I mean, it was just... Who knows what would have happened? Because there was no season 2. He did have lovely curly hair, but there was no season 2, so who knows?
I wonder if they ever wrote a season 2. Like, there has to be a treatment or a script out there somewhere for, you know, a proposed season 2.
Why don't you write it? Why don't you write it? And then we'll film it.
I just want to read it. I want to know what would have happened. I don't want to write it.
Will you write it?
No,
I don't. That's how you...
Stop.
No. You're missing this, because that's how your woman, E.L. James, isn't that her name? She wrote that, like, porn treatment of soft porn treatment of Twilight, and became a billionaire. Why don't you write season 2?
Soft porn. It was practically liquid. There was not a single moment of penetration in those entire films. Soft porn. Would you get a grip?
Oh,
you know, actually,
no,
sorry.
that was not. May I say that's the antithesis of a strong female protagonist. Also, that was a literally spineless female, like a jellified female protagonist.
Yes. Sorry, on the topic of slightly sexy pornographic not sexy, but like sexual fan fiction, I also read a series of books that were written as Harry Styles fan fiction. And let me tell you, they were no better.
Harry Styles fan fiction? I've actually read about this. I just can't believe you're reading it.
Oh my God, I read them all. And I hated myself, and also was so like enthralled. I wonder what will happen. They just get breaking up and get back together and having sex.
Like with Harry Styles? Or is that what the point of it is?
The character was based around Harry Styles, and his name was Hardin Scott. Hardin, Hardin. Hardin.
Oh, could you get your pronunciation right? What is wrong with you? Oh my God.
He was English.
Why was he not called, the better name would have been Hardin Fassbender. That's a good last name.
He was British, and he was in school in America, and they were all obsessed with his British accent. He was covered in tattoos. So that's basically where the similarities to Harry Styles ended. I think he wore jewelry.
So basically it was like Mallory. It was Mallory Towers. Harry Styles goes to Mallory Towers in modern day.
Oh my God! Can you imagine?
Harry
Styles goes to Mallory Towers. The tops would all be off the ginger beer in seconds.
Jesus Christ. They'd be fizzing all over the place. Well, I mean, the whole thing is like Harry Styles, Harden, whatever his name was, Harden would not be as compelling because he's not a multimillionaire famous person. Like that Louis V cardigan would not be rocking it everywhere if it hadn't been on a super famous singer.
Well,
but like if you saw Brandon, if Brandon came home to you and said, Rosemary, now take Harry Styles out of the picture, okay? Harry Styles never wore this cardigan at Glastonbury, never went anywhere, right? Brandon goes out one day with his pocketbook and his trousers, comes back, right? Wearing, you know, that's so Brandon, my pocketbook, comes back wearing an oversized, primary coloured, hand-knit looking cardigan, something you could have cobbled together from, and says to you, forget the new windows, Rosemary, I just dropped $2,000 on this cardi. Would you be like, oh, yes? Or would you have been like, what famous person wore that so that I can validate your choice?
I think if Brandon made that decision, I'd be very supportive. I'd be 100% behind him in his multicolored card. I'd be happy for him.
I'm just going to say your name right now, Rosemary, because I think we're failing the Bechdel test. We're talking about men. We should move on.
Sorry, Beatrice.
Okay,
sorry. What other TV shows? Like I know you kind of brought this up as well when we were chatting earlier about what we would talk about for the episode, but there are a lot of good kind of Scandi crime dramas led by women.
Well, I was going to say to you, because this is where the whole Latin thing came up this morning. I was actually like, maybe at a lockdown, I'm going to learn German because I'm currently watching Detective Ellen Lucas. Commander Ellen Lucas. She's Deutsch. And ja, ein bisschen. Ich bin bereit. I don't think that's a real word. There's a lot of like, ich weiß es nicht. Ich weiß es nicht. Where are they? Ich weiß es nicht. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm really remembering this. I never, I did German in school and then immediately went and lived in Italy and France. So it was absolutely useless. And when mom likes to call me on the phone and say, hey, how's your German? Randomly. And I go, it's fine, thanks. Ja, das ist gut. And she goes, oh, wohnen. Ja, ich wohnen. Ich habe nicht wohnen. She puts an N on the end of everything if it's German, the same way she makes up her Latin, right? You know she does. Oh, Rosemary, es ist guten. That's mom. So anyway, I'm watching Detective Ellen Lucas and I was like, God, it's really interesting watching an older woman detective. This is now from 2003, right? It's only 2 seasons. I signed up to MHZ on Amazon Prime because I was watching Spirale, Engrenage, the French crime drama, which is like a really good, gritty version of, not actually like Law and Order at all, actually. Just a crime, like TV cop show.
Procedural.
And it also has, procedural, thank you. And it also has amazing female protagonists. Like the men are all there plodding around being love interest, but the women are what make this show like top notch. There's the extremely evil, callous, soulless lawyer, Josephine. And then there is the troubled, again, kind of unlikable, messed up, somewhat skirting the boundaries of the law police officer whose name I can't remember.
You're very
amazing.
animated when talking about telly in a way that I haven't seen now. Oh, maybe you should have been a TV critic.
It's just... Oh my God. Well, I don't know because I can't remember any names. I'd be like, there was a TV show on Wednesday. I'd be like, it's on Wednesday at night on RTE1. Can't remember the name or any of the characters, but let me tell you,
I laughed and laughed.
Yeah. Oh, but I'll tell you what I did watch this week with allegedly strong female protagonists, Flack with Anna Paquin,
I think.
I want to give it a positive note.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, I have a question. Is she still married to Bill the Vampire from True Blood?
I do not know. Last thing I read was about a year ago, and I believe so.
Go on.
So, she is a PR person, right?
Right.
PR, whatever, expert. And she works for a PR company, and they are basically their fixers. But this is not, what's his face? What's Naomi? What's his husband? This is no Ray Donovan is this. This is, yes, This is not a gritty, dark and down. This is supposed to be gritty, but it is really badly lit. It looks like it was made on a budget of about €5. I don't know how. They've obviously spent all their money on the Oscar winner. Except I have to give a good call out to Amy Huberman, who's in it, and who I actually love her other show, Chasing, whatever it's called, the one about the lawyer, also about a lawyer. But in this one, yes, I liked it. But in this one, anyway, she pops up for a scene. And I did a double take. I was like, is that Amy Huberman? Because I always love seeing Irish people and things. But let me tell you, the rest of it feels like it was made... I think it's pretty recent, right? It's called Flack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It was made pretty recently, but...
I think it's new.
It seems... And but I'm saying I think it was shot like pretty recently. I'm not sure, but it seems so outdated. They make these jokes that I think they think are risque, but just are racist and like inappropriate. You know what I mean?
I'm
they're like,
wondering,
I was just very, very poor taste.
I'm wondering if a lot of TV shows and some movies in the last, say, 9 months got released basically because there was nothing being shot for 6 months. So I think there was like a hole in the programming. So for example, this is nothing to do with strong female characters at all, but I recently watched Bling Empire on Netflix, which is like a reality TV show that follows a group of like real life crazy rich Asians who live in LA.
Is this the one where we were talking at totally cross purposes about a character and I said she looks like this and you were like, she does?
Yes, because there's a character in Bling Empire called Anna and you were watching Flack and you were like, oh my God, Anna looks crazy. And I was like, she said, terrible work done. And then I was like, wait, are you talking about the same Anna I'm talking about?
But this conversation went on for way too long. You're like, she looks like a Kardashian. I'm like, what? I was like, does she?
I know. Anyway, it's the kind of show that I'm like, and like also, what's the other one? Like Too Hot to Handle, which came out after the success of Love is Blind. But I feel like loads of these shows wouldn't have been released because they were so crap if it wasn't for the fact that they were suddenly like, oh my God, nobody's shooting anything. We'll have to say yes to these things we would have said no to.
I have to say, I don't agree with you. Unfortunately, I think that all these shows...
You think Too Hot to Handle was great?
I thought it was absolutely appalling. You loved it, I'd like to say. And it was number one in the Netflix ratings for weeks.
Which just goes to show I have my finger on the pulse of what people want.
You do have I said that to somebody the other day. I said Rosemary has a really great understanding of basic taste. Basic with a capital B.
You can just say what you really said, which is Rosemary has extremely basic taste. Which is true.
Oh, no. I was just like, Rosemary can channel her inner basic. Like nobody's business.
Easily.
I mean, then I scroll through your Insta feed and I'm like, look, see what I mean? I'm only joking. Anyway, back to honestly, I feel like those are all the bestsellers. Like that. And do you know what? That wasn't made during lockdown because you made me watch Too Hot to Handle when you moved over here at the very beginning of lockdown. That was filmed way ahead of it.
Oh my God, that was amazing. What's the other one I loved? The Killing. Isn't that what it's called?
Oh yeah, Until They Got Together. That was so crap.
Oh my God, I don't remember that. There was the Scandinavian drama.
Sorry. Spoiler alert.
I watched the Scandinavian version and I watched the American version.
Oh, good. The American version, when they got together at the very last season, was so rubbish.
Oh, I don't think I cared because I really fancied him. So I was like, great.
Yes, but like they were not chemically matched up. Yeah, he's incredibly attractive, I have to say. But listen, we're failing the Bechdel test again.
Sorry. We're actually rubbish. We're like, listen, strong female protagonist. Can't remember her name. He was a ride. Totally would. He was gorgeous.
We did not say that, if you don't mind, but he was absolutely gorgeous. And then he went out with Olivia Munn.
Oh, yeah. Isn't his name Joel something? Joel Kinnaman.
Yes, actually, yes. And he comes from a very long line of extremely well-known Scandi actors. His dad is a very famous actor too, who you would recognise. And his brother...
Oh, no. I'm thinking about the guy in the American one. The American guy.
Am I. Yeah.
Oh, Scandi.
He's Swedish.
Oh, didn't know that.
I think. And his brother is your man in... What was that? One of those horror shows with... Oh, God.
American Horror Story?
All their names that I don't know. No. Where they're like vampires and werewolves. And it's your woman... Who's the... Famke Janssen. Finally, thank God I remembered somebody's name. Famke Janssen is in it. She's from... she's from... X-Men.
Yeah, don't remember. Yeah. Don't know what
she's an excellent now strong female protagonist. I'll just get that in there in X-Men. She's a good one, isn't she? She always looks very sad though.
Oh, she does always look a bit sad. Emily in Paris is another show with a strong female lead.
Is it? Oh, is it? Are you talking about the boss in the office? Because she's a good female.
Yeah.
She's a good. But she's boss. A female extra.
Tell me about Call Your Agent.
Yeah, but that's not about female protagonists. I mean, there's some very strong female actors in it. There have to, and actually, so inspired was I by the bitch in the office, who's like the best thing ever. This one, I mean, is she a bitch? She's kind of a bitch. She's like tough as nails. She doesn't.
Bitches in our episode about like the Bechdel cast and strong.
I'm
female
taking back the word bitch. Bitch is extremely positive. She's a bitch with a capital B, and I love it. Oh, she is. She's great.
She's a lover. She's a child. She's a mother. She's a sinner. She's a saint. She does not feel ashamed.
She does not, and neither do I. And anyway, so inspired was I by her fantastic red suede boots in season 2, ankle boots, that I went on the hunt to get myself a similar pair and then to pretend that my legs were as skinny in French jeans. The style is also like impeccable. Anyway, finally found a pair of the red boots from similar, I'll say similar, not the same, from Tamara Mellon, but they're just not as good as hers. Hers are now top notch.
Did you buy them?
Boots. She's got great style. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you ever wear
but
them?
They're just not as... Yeah, but I mean, not at home, like around the place.
Yeah, not anymore.
We're not this year, you know. Haven't had great use for my high heels. When I go into the office, I'm afraid that I've forgotten how to walk in them, so it's a little bit dangerous.
I mean, yeah,
I think I used to have better posture in my high heels. Like now, I feel like I'm kind of sort of arching my back like a crone to make sure I don't fall. I'm like a little bit teeter-tottery. But anyway, what other TV shows? So hold on, let's go back to Buffy. What about Charmed? Three female protagonists.
I don't think I ever watched Charmed.
Yes, you did.
Oh no! As in, I definitely saw episodes of it, but I never I didn't watch it. As in, I didn't know when it was on. I didn't sit down every week to watch it.
No, that's not. We're not talking about you. We're talking about shows with female protagonists.
Oh, I thought we were talking about like shows we've watched with female protagonists. Because I don't remember anything.
You
about
just
Charmed.
said you've watched it. If you were in a court of law now, you'd have talked yourself.
Episodes of Charmed. So annoying. Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Okay, Law and Order.
No,
Sabrina the you loved that.
Witch. I used to love that, yeah. And and also that was really great because not only was Sabrina the Teenage Witch the titular character, but she lived with her 2 aunts who were also great female protagonists.
Yeah, I liked that, the bubbly one. Well, they were both pretty bubbly. I liked I
can't remember either of their names,
but I loved them.
The
one with the kind of helium voice.
Yes, listen, I loved them both. And I loved her cameo in the Britney Spears video.
Desperate Housewives, except it was all about men. Right? It was all about
and murder.
I didn't mind that so much.
I didn't really mind that either.
But it was just pretty rubbish. Like, I enjoyed... Oh, Sex in the City!
Sex in the City, which is coming back without Kim Cattrall. What do you think about that?
I know. Absolutely not. That's just the city. Saps in the City. Although I really did love What's-Her-Face with the red hair.
Miranda.
Yeah, Miranda was the best. And Steve.
You're a real
I loved
Miranda.
Steve.
I loved Steve as well.
I loved Steve. He was a dote.
He was a dote, but they all ruined it in the second movie. Like, spoilers
ruined it.
for the second Sex and the City movie. But like, Steve cheating on Miranda was like the most out of character thing.
As if.
Oh, the whole thing was awful. And then them going on holidays and Samantha basically saying to her, he cheated on you because you haven't waxed your bush in months. Like, the whole thing was outrageous.
You'll be surprised to hear that I remember none of it. But when I rewatch episodes of Sex and the City, I'm just constantly amazed by how despicable Carrie was.
Oh,
and why were we all listening to her? Like, listening to her musing at her window. Why is a girl possessed of curly hair such a difficult person?
I couldn't help but wonder,
at you.
Which came first, the curl or the diffused dry?
Exactly.
Yeah, I couldn't help but wonder.
And the nonsense relationships as well. Like she was not relatable.
I wonder if Sex and the City passes the Bechdel test. I mean, I'm sure it has moments where it does, but I wonder if more episodes do or don't. I'd say probably don't. Because it is very focused on dating and marriage and...
I mean, probably do. Like, they had a lot of... Probably do. Everything with Miranda probably do. Maybe that's why I liked her so much, because I've always been ahead of my time.
Oh, Miranda was the best. I mean, Samantha was a great character as well.
Oh, Samantha was great too.
And actually Charlotte, you know what? Charlotte was fine because she was just like... She was a very believable character, I think. This kind of very waspy...
Oh, was she?
I feel like she was just this very waspy woman who just really
I just don't think she ever would have had those friends, though. It just wasn't believable that they were a gang of friends. Like, she was in and of herself credible, but there's no way she would have been like she was me to you. I was Charlotte and you were Samantha, and every time she said something sexually inappropriate, I would have died in a public place having brunch.
But she did almost die.
But I wouldn't have gone out with you again. If I wasn't related to you, I wouldn't hang out with you like this. I'd be like, you'd do that too many times, and I'd be like, that's it. As Dad likes to say, I'd be like, that's it.
Wasn't there one episode where like Samantha basically started talking about giving head and Charlotte just got up and left the table? Just like left the restaurant. It was basically like, I've had enough. That'd be you.
And it's probably Mom right now turning off the episode.
No, she's probably actually going, giving head. What does that mean?
Dad, unfortunately, in lockdown, only Dad there to answer the question.
Maybe you could explain for our listeners what it means, Beatrice.
Pardon?
Yeah, do you remember the time that you made me give the detailed description of the word boner killer? I thought that you could now take a turn at explaining what giving head means.
Giving head. I believe it means moving within the proximate range of another person's body heat, putting your head into a person's personal space. Actually, which leads me on to one of my observations of Detective Ellen Lucas. I was like, no, there's no head happening in this. There's like, it's very chaste. T-E. No, well, and ED, they do a good bit of chasing. She has very strange, very, very strange kitten heels that are not appropriate for the cobblestones of
oh my God, just
Hamburg
like in Jurassic
or wherever
World.
she is. Yes. But she, unlike your woman, redheaded, whatever her name is, well, actually never seemed to learn her lesson either. Doesn't seem to learn her lesson despite being chased down many of the cobblestone alley by a criminal. She has yet to actually... Oh, last week she was wearing a pair of runners. She has yet to actually remove these shoes. That's the other thing about Flack, actually. Only she works in PR, allegedly. She's like a mover and a shaker with all these extremely famous people, and yet only wears one pair of strappy stilettos ever. And I don't just mean 2 events. From morning to evening, she has one pair of strappy stilettos that she walks through the streets of London in.
Listen, Beatrice, some people don't need 300 pairs of shoes. I know this might be
But she doesn't even wear sneakers to get to work.
Oh my God, I hate seeing, I mean, this is awful and like, why do I care? But I hate seeing women in like suits and stuff with Asics runners. It's always just terrible. Oh.
That is very unsupportive. Anyway, back to Detective Ellen Lucas. I was going to write to a friend of mine who lives in Germany and say, are German people, do they have a different understanding of personal space? Because you know in America there's a lot of like, I need my personal space. I'm sure in Ireland too. Do you remember I was at the playground with the kids a while ago and a little kid said to Nash, he's invading my personal space. And I was like, what the hell? Like, who teaches that to a 4-year-old? Anyway, yes.
That's an important lesson for any child to learn, to be fair.
Well, I mean, okay, potentially. Anyway, they all are standing really close. It's like when they're talking and interviewing suspects or even just talking to each other, they're all like, their faces are about 5 inches apart. And I'm like, is this because this is how they're being directed to stand for the filming of the TV show? Or do German people stand very close? Answers will not be in the show notes because I don't have the answer. Answers into us, please.
Yeah, please let us know. If you live in Germany, do people stand too close to you? And do they run around in inappropriate heels?
It's not too close. No, that was in London. It's not too close. But I mean, just.
I suppose I'm assuming that somebody listens to this. They might be Irish. So if you're an Irish person in Germany, like, have you noticed?
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. If I move to Germany, will I be required to stand extremely close to somebody if I'm talking to them?
Sorry, what would you be moving to Germany for?
I don't know, an opportunity. Rosemary, I'm living now in Fort Wayne, founded by Germans, and I'm loving it. So maybe I should go for the real deal. Deutschland.
Have you seen, actually, here's another show, back to the point, with a strong female character. Have you seen The Man in the High Castle, also on Amazon Prime?
Yeah, I watched some of it, then I got bored. But this was before Trump came to power, and then all the parallels started to get too real, and I was like, I can't watch this for entertainment and live it. No thanks.
Oh, fair, I get you. I watched, like, the first season, and then I think I watched the second season, but then I went through one of my phases of cancelling all my subscriptions because I was like, I'm poor. So I must watch it again now that I'm on Brandon's Amazon Prime. I'm still poor, but he's paying for it, so that's great. I actually keep trying to get him to watch it. And the other day we were trying to think of something to watch, and we had a choice between Man in the High Castle, my suggestion, and Broadchurch, which our friend Liam had suggested. And Brandon, of course, chose Broadchurch, so we're watching that, which is very good but very sad. It does have a strong female protagonist, your doppelganger.
Very sad. Oh, Olivia Colman. Yes, who my mother-in-law thinks I'm the image of, and, you know, I love Olivia Colman, but I was hoping more for Gal Gadot, but whatever.
Gal Gadot, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. She's not my doppelganger, so I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Gal Gadot? I don't know. David Tennant is also in it, and Jodie Whittaker. There are 2 Doctor Who's in
Jodie
season
Whittaker's
1.
excellent. Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Okay, well said. And then, what was that other TV show that I was thinking about just there when you said that? With the female protagonist. Oh no, I was just about to re-recommend Counterpart with your man from Whiplash. Now, strong male protagonist. Actually, not that strong male protagonist, but just excellent TV show. I just want to put a plug in there for that again because I couldn't remember the name of it last time.
Are we allowed to talk about any TV shows now? We're just allowed to talk about...
Well, maybe for 2 minutes. And I said that show that started with a D, right? And then afterwards I was like, oh, it's called Counterparts. Sorry about that. Trying to throw people off the scent.
I'm trying to think what other shows like have I really enjoyed or really want to watch. I mean, The Witcher, but again, not a female protagonist, but also just because I'm like, just want to look at Henry Cavill in a wig.
Oh, Mindhunter. An amazing show about serial killers.
And that does have at least 2 strong female characters and probably passes the Bechdel. Actually, I don't know if it passes the Bechdel test because they don't speak to each other really.
Oh, Fringe. Fringe was a great TV show with that same Australian actor.
That's the one with Joshua Jackson, isn't
Joshua
it?
Jackson,
Casey.
yeah. Mm-hmm. And
that creepy
I'm sorry,
looking old
Rosemary,
guy.
would you mind moving your toe out of the camera? Would you mind moving it? Thanks. It's like really gross. As I'm chatting to you, you're just fiddling with your big toe.
Sorry,
right,
I really need to get...
Thanks a lot.
Stop. I really need to get a better setup where I can put like my laptop up here. That's what I need.
I was like, I was giving you the benefit of the doubt there. I was like, how long is she going to do that for? And then it just went on and on. And I was like, I can't anymore.
At least you know that I'm looking at you, not myself, as I usually do.
You're right. Your toe's the protagonist of this conversation. Okay, go on. So to wrap it up, what's your biggest recommendation? Watch Buffy at least 10 times.
I mean, if you've never seen Buffy, I would definitely recommend watching it because I think it's really good and like a lot of the themes are still applicable. It obviously, certain things haven't aged well. Like there's an episode in season 1 where she gets a pager and they have this discussion about like how they're going to get in touch and she's like, beep me. And like the whole thing, like a lot of their calamities could be solved if they had mobile phones because like there's a lot of moments where they're like in the library, oh, we've just realised what the demons are after. Quick, run and find Buffy. You know what I mean? And like, so like a lot of that you'd have to suspend this is very 90s, but... Oh, you know what? There was another series, Dollhouse, that was also written by Joss Whedon and was starring
with your woman.
Eliza
she was good.
Dushku.
I like her.
Yeah, which I really enjoyed. I don't have any clue where you'd get that now, but that was also a great series that only had 2 seasons. And then speaking of Joss Whedon, there's Firefly, which is not strong female protagonist led, but is amazing. Like really, really good sci-fi.
But the female characters have actual personalities and jobs and roles on the ship, other than being the psychologist, the doctor, and like the soft skills. They have actual roles. They're
one
like
of them's
engineers.
The engineer. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Do you know what I was going to say? And they've got an amazing wooden table in the middle of the ship's
officer's mess.
Amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. Do you know what I was going to say though? Have you seen Wonder Woman 1984?
No, have you?
No, I have not. And I don't want to watch it because I want to see it and I love Kristen Wiig, right? And I'm looking forward to seeing her as Wonder Woman's arch nemesis. But I don't understand why a movie that is so based around a woman had to actually revive Chris Pine, the love interest who died. Why did he have to come back to life? Like, I'm resenting. Like, it's not about him. Do you know what I mean? And he is... He's my favourite Chris of all the Chris's. Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pine.
Okay,
he's my favourite. Yeah. He's my favourite Chris. But even so, I feel like it's just another thing of like, well, we've got this really great protagonist and she was the biggest earning movie of the entire world ever. But there was a guy in it, kind of like sort of a sidekick guy. And like, maybe it was actually about him. We better bring him back for film too. It wasn't about him.
I had read that he was like, I'd read a review or something where they'd mentioned it, but it hadn't occurred to me that he died in the other film. And now that you mentioned it, I'm like,
he died, as in, you know, and just because I'm practicing my German.
Wasn't he?
Is tot.
What?
I said because he's German. I said because I'm practicing my German, and it's a phrase that is used a lot in Detective Alan Lucas. I'm going to say ist tot. He's dead.
Does that mean he's dead?
Yeah, ist tot.
Totally ridiculous. Yeah, I think I probably will watch that at some point as well. But
of course, well, you're going to get HBO Max, and then it'll be on that, won't it?
I think it's on Disney Plus, isn't it?
Oh no, it's on HBO, and I'll be
Wonder Woman.
And I'll be off in the porch, smelling of pork, watching through the window with my nose pressed up against the glass because I'm not subscribing to it.
The porky porch. I'm pretty sure Wonder Woman is on Disney.
Rosemary,
maybe I'm making that up.
Mulan was on Disney. It's on HBO.
I know Mulan was on Disney.
Do you know what? We'll find it. It'll be in the show notes for all those. For all those who can't wait for us to resolve this fact.
And then whichever one of us is wrong, will be tot.
Good. Well, Rosemary, good night, so.
Good night, pal. Thank you so much for listening to Not Without My Sister. If you have 2 minutes and you're listening to this on an Apple device, the best way that you can help support us is to go onto Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review, and share and tell your friends. Share on Instagram stories, share on Twitter. Tell everyone you know that our podcast is great.
Thanks for listening.
Whether you believe it or not.
Yes. From 2 great female protagonists to all the other great female and otherwise gendered protagonists out there listening to us, thanks for listening.
Yes, anybody, like any gender you identify with that's not male. Bye.
And males, anybody with ears. To all the people out there with ears. The eared individuals.
Bye.
Ear. Ear.
Bye.
Not Without My Sister is produced by Liam Garrity, original music by Don Kirkland, and original illustration by Lindsay Nielsen. Thanks for listening.
Not Without My Sister is a member of The Warren, the home of great Irish podcasts. As is my podcast, Meet Your Maker. You'll find more great shows at thewarren.ie.